judge should now at some stage realize as a judicial officer he needs to be impartial and he needs to conduct, because this is something that can be prejudicial to the defense and to the accused persons. Why, if there's no nothing that comes to a conclusion to say that there is no handwritten statement, while the witness said he made a handwritten statement. So what the witness saying, and then he even go as far to say that the credibility of the witness. Now I think already he's saying to us, looking at the trial, that that is a credible witness. He cannot make a credibility finding at that. It means that this accused in his eyes is already guilty. And for me, that is a sign of a judge that is not partial at this point in time. I'm very worried for the accused that I will see them getting found guilty and not being given a fair trial at this point in time. Because what I'm seeing for the past couple of days, and I've been seeing this trend, when the defense normally raises an issue, the judge is quickly to shut them down and to say, no, and it's overriding them. Instead of being cordial, this is officers of the court as well. Listen to them and actually allow them to speak, not just cut them off. Because when the prosecutor speaks, he's not being cut off, he's being given ample time to elaborate and canvas his points. So for me, I'm worried about how the judge is handling. People might say, yes, he's getting to the point. The previous judge, Maumela, was not. But I'm also seeing some prejudice somewhere lurking there from the judge towards the defense and how they cross-examine and put their defense across. And they are being limited actually to canvas their defense completely with the state witnesses.
Hey, Tada, we are back with another video. The page, it is called South African. What we just heard there is the voice of Elton Hart, one of the few legal minds that is not afraid to say that the judge in the MEYIWA case is unfair. Is unfair towards the defense. You'll remember that when Constable Zungu was testifying earlier on, he said that he had a statement that was handwritten, and he said he left it back in KZN. And then the judge said, okay, because it's Friday, we're gonna adjourn early so that Zungu can go to KZN and then look for the statement. Come Monday morning, Zungu came back empty-handed because he lied. Now, when he comes to court, he says, no, my lord, I only meant that I wrote in pieces of papers anything that came to mind, not an actual statement. And Rata believed that the rubbish. But here Elchinat says the judge should not have accepted Zungu's word because on a previous week he had stated that there was an actual handwritten statement. So in actual fact, Constable Zungu lied in court about that statement because he failed to produce that handwritten statement. But then Rata accepted his nonsense. This just proves my point that Rata is a biased judge. He is in favor of Advocate Baloyi. That is why whenever Baloyi is speaking, he never interrupts him. But when it's the defense, it is the total opposite. And Elton Hart, as we heard at the beginning of this video, he fully agrees that the judge is not handling this matter in a manner befitting a good judge. So I'm glad that there's at least one legal mind that is still remaining on our television, because most of the experts that come to Newsroom Africa, ENC, or SABC, they are totally biased. They have fallen for this state narrative of the intruder, of which is a total lie, a total fabrication by the state. But Elton Hart is one of those that is not afraid to break the rank and say it that Judge Racha is a biased judge. Firstly, Elton Hart said the confession that was allegedly made by Ntanz and Sibiya is questionable. He questioned the manner in which it was obtained. Remember that Musibiya was driven around at night until he confessed in the morning. Alton Hart questioned why was it so urgent that the confession should be taken in the early hours of the morning. That is a very good question from Elton Hart, but I've got the answer already. They made sure that Musibia confesses in the morning because they were abusing him the whole night so that he can be softened, he can be weak That is why Moses signed that confession. He only signed that confession because he was tired of being abused the whole night. And also, Elton Hart said the confession by Boganen Tanzi. Why was there a need for the second confession? Remember that Tanzi, he's got two confessions. There's one before the police officer, and then the other one was done in the presence of Magistrate Cronier. So the question that was asked, why was there a need for the second confession if Ntanzi had confessed the first time around? Clearly, the answer is very simple. In the first confession of Ntanzi, they forgot to include certain lies. So the second confession was there just as a backup to make sure that they cover all their bases. They made sure that the lies that were not included in the first confession are then included in the final confession that was before Magistrate Fournier. So you can see that the state's case is built around all this fabrication and lies because they do not have actual evidence against these guys because these guys are innocent. So they go on by creating fake confessions, fabricating statements. We know now by the voice of Absalom Zungu. Absalom Zungu told the Sunday Sun that Brigadier Kininda tried to speak to him so that he can get an assistance. What type of assistance? He said Brigadier Kininda offered him money and a trip to go overseas as long as he comes to court and testify and implicate accused number one and two. There was Ubabu Zongu accusing Ukininda of trying to fabricate evidence. So now we can see that there's this tendency by the state to, to try by all means to get statements that suit their narrative, which is very sad because justice must be fair for the accused as well as for the victims. So the five men that are before court clearly were not involved in the shooting of SENZO MEYIWA because we can see the DNA that came back indicated that all five accused were not present at the crime scene because the DNA sample taken from the house did not match any of the accused. So we can see that the state made sure that they get this confession because it was the only thing that could link all five men to the crime scene. Clearly, then they had to go and use Constable Zungu, who has been proven to be a liar by his own father, because Absalom Zungu also told the Daily Sun or the Sunday Sun that his son told him that he only went to testify in court because he was promised a promotion within the SAPS. So clearly, Constable Zungu also lied under oath, which means if South Africa was a proper country that follows the rules of the court, Constable Zungu was going to be charged after the testimony that is upcoming from Absalom Zungu. But we just have to wait and see what Uthini Absalom Zungu when he's in court. Will he repeat the same thing that he told the Daily Sun or the Sunday Sun? Angazi, but I'm hopeful that Absalom Zungu will come and expose Brigadier Kininda, Advocate Baloyi, and all the police officers that were involved in the MEYIWA case. It is quite clear now that there is no evidence against the accused. It is just fabrication and lies. How do I know that? Well, because when it comes to actual evidence that is scientific based, all five men are accused are cleared. That is a fact. The AVL report of Constable Zung was not brought before court because it is scientific and it was going to go against the state narrative. The AVL was going to show that Constable Zungu was never at Fosloras on the day that Senzo lost his life. That is why Advocate Baloyi is hiding the AVL. We were told that Zungu's AVL is not available because his car was not fitted with an AVL. But we know very well that all police vehicles are fitted with AVL. On the day when SENZO was shot, it is on record that Constable Zungu was driving a police car. He said that with his own mouth. So it is undisputable. But the AVL, for some reason, does not exist. Clearly, Baloy thinks he's smart, but you can see through him because they were able to find the AVLs of other vehicles. But those vehicles are not relevant to this case. They are not important. That's why those AVL were brought to court because those AVL records are useless. They are useless to the defense because they cannot help the five accused men to clear their name. But the AVL of Constable Zungu ayibona because kuyacaca ukuthi yayizoqhatha ubalo iveze ukuthi uConstable Zungu uqamba amanga. Then the other scientific evidence that is very important, our madoda, the DNA. It is said that the head that was found in the crime scene, it had a DNA of a woman, meaning that it can't be any of these five men because they are not women. So that DNA of a woman shows that akusibono Ntanzi, akusibono Maphisa, akusibono Sibiya abadula uSenzo Meyiwa. I-DNA evidence ngithanda lapho because it cannot lie. It tells you as it is. But Brigadier Gininda comes to court and say no. 2% of DNA says this, but no. In court, we don't use 2%. We need 99.999%, not 2%. So Gininda keep telling us that 2% was matched and so on and so on. Akusebenzi kanjalo. The DNA evidence that was brought by the DNA expert clearly indicated that all five men were excluded from the DNA sample that was taken from the house, meaning that babengekho laphana. And then the other thing that shows that this case is cooked, it is the bullet jacket or the projectile. Remember that when they initially came on Sunday, after Senzo was shot, the police looked all over the house, but they found no bullet, nothing, zero, nix. The following Monday, umlengo, they found the bullet behind ikhabethe or whatever, but on the day before, abayitholanga. So clearly, that bullet jacket or projectile was planted by the police in order to implicate someone else other than the people that were in the house. We know very well that the shooter of Senzo was amongst the people that were in the house. So that bullet, iyathusa ukuthi hayibo, abayitholi on Sunday where the kwagcwele amaphoyisa, but on the following day bayithola. Hayibo, hayibo. Asibone uPopeye la siyabona ukuthi that bullet was placed there just to implicate abantu ababengekho ngaphakathi endlini. So what I'm hoping for now is that when the defense take this case on appeal, they can able to show all those cooking and fabrication by the state because it is those things that will prove that these guys are innocent. I'm sure Judge Rata has made up his mind. He has written his judgment, which will say all five men are guilty. But when we go on appeal, that is where Judge Rata will be exposed to be a terrible judge because those five judges at the Supreme Court of Appeal don't play around. They look at facts. And the important facts in this case, DNA evidence, as well as evidence Absolute Mzungu that will show what the state fabricated its case. If Gininda it is proven what he did ask Ubabu Zungu to come and testify in court and lie in order to implicate accused 1 and 2, then the state case it will be proven Uguti it was based on lies and fabrication. So I can't wait to see Babu Zungu coming to court and exposing Brigadier Gininda. Remember that Gininda said in court, Absolute Zungu is the main person that led to a breakthrough in this case because he came forward to say that he knows that Umusibi and Tanzi were involved in the MEYIWA case. That is Gininda's evidence. But Absolute Mzungu uyapheka ukuthi mina angikaze ngisho lokho phakathi yeGininda. So where did Gininda get that information from? If engazange ayithole ku-Absolute Mzungu. Clearly it was fabricated. That is why I'm praying so hard ukuthi Absolute Mzungu comes to court and puts that evidence on record so that it is there for the Supreme Court of Appeal to review once the matter has been taken there, because Rata is going to say they are guilty anyway. So Rata sesiyabuka sesiyazi ukuthi uzothini. But when this case is taken on appeal, many things will be exposed, and mainly Ugininda and Baloyi. Ubaloyi is trying to find these guys guilty at all cost, even though we can see that there is no evidence that links them. So that's why on its own it shows Baloyi ukuthi akanayo inhliziyo enhle, uyindoda enenhliziyo embi. Why would he try to send this man to prison for life, even though he knows that there's no evidence? I can only come up to one conclusion, which is Ubaloyi unenhliziyo embi shame bandla, hayi ngeke, because we can see these guys are innocent. These guys did not shoot SENZO MEYIWA. The shooter of SENZO MEYIWA was in that house. Based on Mlungihlobo's statement, we now know that Mlungotshwala is the one that allegedly shot SENZO MEYIWA. uNomadlala phoned ulona uHlophe and told him that SENZO was shot by Longwe ngephutha. That phone call was made immediately after the shooting of SENZO MEYIWA. That was before the meeting that was held by Sibiya. So it was before they got a chance to create this intruder theory. So you can see that the state case is built on lies and fabrication. I just pray that Absolute Mzungu, wherever he is, he remains in good spirit and faith until he can come and present his evidence before court. It is very important that he comes, because if he doesn't come to court, then his story will remain hearsay evidence because it won't be before the court. So I pray that Absolute Mzungu is healthy and safe wherever he is. Then the likes of Makubo will then come and also booster the defense case to show Utukinin and Mbaloyi they fabricated this case allegedly. But I'm hoping that Nisi, by by the 13th of October, he'll be ready. I'm hoping that he would have spoken to all his witnesses that he needed to consult. Remember the last time when court, Msholo said they had some finance issues because they did not have money to pay for accommodation for some of those witnesses. I hope that legal aid has come to the board and helped them, because the defense needs all the witnesses that they can get, because their lives are at stake here. Their lives depends on those witnesses that will come and defend them. So come next week Monday, the case will resume and we shall see what is going on. But as long as we've got people like Alton Halt who are brave enough to say on TV, Uguti, this judge is not fair, then there's hope for me, because other aspects that you see on TV, it seems like they are captured by the state because they support anything that the state offers to the courts. But anyway, thank you for watching. The case shall resume next week, Monday, the 30th of October 2025. Danko.